There are some big LEGO sets retiring in 2025, including some firm fan favourites. Try saying that quickly. So in this video, I'll walk you through my top picks that you don't want to miss out on. We'll start with one of the most popular sets in recent years, set 10305, the LEGO Icons Lion Knights Castle, originally released back in August of 2022, is now coming up to retirement. It'll be gone by the end of this year, so just over a 3-year lifespan. However, I'm sure that there will still be plenty of people who are potentially going to miss out on this epic build, simply because the price point isn't that accessible to everyone. It is, however, one of those sets that's pretty much just going to go up in price on the secondary market, so now is the time to be saving up those pennies to try and put towards getting this pretty incredible build. It was so refreshing for LEGO to reintroduce Castle in this way, and of course it spawned so much inspiration in terms of the Bricklink Designer program and fan designs that we have had follow on from it. Now just bear in mind it is currently Prime Day as I release this. There's also LEGO promotions and insider deals on some of these sets. So I'll put links down in the description below and you can see if you can bag yourself a bit of a deal on some of these. But you know, that said, this particular set is one I paid full retail for and don't regret it for a moment. It's not often I say that, but this is such a brilliant set. I really don't think it's one for any medieval fan to miss out on. Now just a quick aside here. Another icon set from the medieval line, i.e. the town square, is also down for retirement this year. However, in my humble opinion, I don't think that it's one of the best sets. So ones like this, I'm not really going to be including in this video. It's all about the standout builds. If you do want a full breakdown of all the sets that are going to be disappearing, then I'll put a link to other videos I've done on that down in the description below. From an Icons Castle onto a Disney one now then in set 43222. The 4,837-piece Disney Castle. Of course, not the only iteration of this that we've ever had, and in perfect honesty, I prefer the minifigures that came with the previous one as opposed to this. However, with the new color scheme layout, there's simply no denying this is a pretty outstanding build. And another that admittedly has a pretty hefty price tag, and you don't often see it on discount, but I really feel that this is the pinnacle for any Disney fan. It's an A-full set, certainly not to be relegated to a kid's bedroom, but instead proudly put on display as a centerpiece in your home. And actually, I think that's something in all fairness that should be noted with the price of this. Even if we take it at its full retail, the amount of sort of Disney princess-style sets aimed at the younger LEGO fans, although they're smaller, they can come with pretty hefty price tags, as we know, easily $100 to $150, and even those really smaller sets priced around $30 or $40. You only have to get a few of them. Very quickly, they add up to just as much as this, quite easily more, and yet they will just never come close to having this level of detailing and such a brilliant blend between displayability and indeed the magic of play as well, if you want it. To my mind, it definitely belongs on this list, as I think there'll be quite a few people who may well regret missing out on this one once it's gone. Next up, we have set 75978. And whether you're coming out the closet in Borgin & Burke's, waving your wand around in Ollivander's face, or popping your whiz-banger in Weasley's Wizard Wheezies, Diagon Alley is a must-own scene for all Harry Potter fans. Now, of course, there have been multiple iterations of this, most recently the microscale version, which I really do like. However, if you are after the sort of collector's edition, keeping in with the scaling of Gringotts Bank and other sets that we've had, then this is a must-buy for you. It first came out in September of 2020, so 5 years ago now. Enough time for Harry to have started at Hogwarts and subsequently gone on to make that monumental balls up in the Ministry of Magic. In other words, you've had plenty of time to get hold of this, but with so many other sets aimed at Harry Potter fans, it's also pretty forgivable if you haven't yet got round to it. I am still of the opinion, though, that this is one of the strongest sets that they have released for the theme in quite a while. It's not perfect, there are definitely things that I find flawed about it, and I've covered those in the past. However, I'm not a huge fan personally of the new modularized version of the different Hogwarts sets that they've been doing, and this is a bit of a collector's classic with some great minifigures in and some fantastically detailed buildings. Now, admittedly, it does look a lot better when you also have Gringotts on display with it. However, to the best of my knowledge, that is not going to be retiring this year, so you'll still have plenty of time to get your hands on that one. So whilst this might make your pockets that bit lighter, you don't need to have a complete breakdown over it. My next pick brings us back to Disney in 43242 with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs Cottage. This came out in March last year, 2024, so it's going to have had a lot shorter shelf life. In fact, I think this was the first main set that I ever reviewed on this channel when I started it back at the beginning of last year. And for me, it really was a must-buy, being a massive fan of the original animated version of Snow White. The live-action remake definitely not being for me. Now, whilst this set did come in for its fair share of controversy at the time when it was released, and whilst it still has a few fairly silly design choices, such as not even including a staircase, I think sometimes you can be overcritical of things, and as long as it captures the charm of the story that so many of us remember growing up with, then, to my mind, it's definitely worth owning, and I think it achieves it. There is something joyously wonderful about this whole build. We'll swoosh through space and time next, though, to come to set 10355, the Icons revival of the Blacktron Renegade. I think this one is going to catch people by surprise. First and foremost, it is on offer with LEGO directly for insiders at the moment as I'm filming this. And of course, it only came out after much anticipation at the start of this year, January 2025. So it will be retiring come December, meaning that it's going to have had a very short shelf life. I don't think many people will expect that, and so will be surprised to see it disappearing off of shelves. Considering what a cool and instant classic this is, and how many Blacktron fans actually wanted LEGO to redo a set, it's one of those times where this is just an instant win. There's a lot of nostalgic value to this, but it's also been modernized really well. Even if you've only just come to LEGO, or else a younger LEGO fan, and haven't had any of the older Blacktron sets, that doesn't matter. This is cool also in its own right. Alternatively, perhaps you do have a copy, but would maybe like to get another to be able to display some of its alternative builds alongside it simultaneously. Whatever the case may be, the clock is ticking. Of course, make sure to watch the rest of this video before going over to buy it because, well, I need the watch time. Now we come on to one of my favourite LEGO Ideas sets, number 21335, the Motorized Lighthouse. I actually have this populated with the different Scooby-Doo minifigs because I just feel that it really suits it. Got a very sort of spooky vibe. Sadly, it doesn't come with those. However, the couple of minifigs that you do get with it are nicely designed and very welcome. It is the motorization of this set, having the light go round and round, that is really awesome, and I find the building experience of ones like these all the more rewarding. Of course, even if you don't want to have that going round and round, it still looks cool just from a static point of view. You know, for those of you who've subscribed to my channel for a while, you'll know that I am a big proponent for LEGO Ideas, doing my best to sing the praises of not just the ones that have made it, but also the good ones trying to gather support. It should mean all the more then when I say that this, to me, is one of the best fan designs that has ever been officially turned into a LEGO set. It's just been so brilliantly thought out all the way through. So if you haven't got it already, make sure to give it a look. I'd be very surprised if you were disappointed. Now it's time for one that I know a lot of people have been dreading to see disappear. 76178, the Daily Bugle is now on its way out. Currently on offer and back order at the moment on LEGO. If space is a bit of a critical factor, then this probably isn't one for you, as it's certainly sizable, but also wonderfully detailed. The thing is, that size and also the price tag, I know for a fact, has prevented quite a lot of people who want this from owning it, and have therefore been putting it off and off. But although it came out in 2021, meaning it's had a pretty reasonable shelf life, it's understandable why quite a few people still don't have it, but you need to act, because by the end of this year, it will be gone. Frankly, along with the Avengers Tower, this is just one of the Marvel sets any collector is going to want to have on display. There's so many amazing things about it. All of the minifigures have been brilliantly done. And when you have the overall build on display, it's just one that you keep coming back to time and time again. But quite frankly, it's not one that I need to sing the praises of. You already know if you want this. But although it's down for retirement by December, that doesn't mean that it won't disappear sooner than that, and it goes for all of the sets on this list. So that's why I'm doing this video now, halfway through the year. You definitely want to be acting on these sooner rather than later. Returning though to LEGO Ideas, we have the Viking Village in 21343, and in my opinion, nowhere near enough Viking sets that have been done. I want a whole lot more of them to really flesh the world out. And of course, this is one that hasn't been out all that long. October 2023 that this was released, and another triumph from LEGO, being quirky, cool, characterful, colourful, packed full of little fun areas that really encourages play. but certainly doesn't lack the detailing required to have it as a main display piece as well. It's also great for those who are a little bit constrained on space because whilst it's not so small as to be cramped, it is fairly condensed down. It's not going to take up a huge amount of room, so it has a lot of visual impact for the actual space that it takes up. By comparison, one that takes up a lot more real estate space is 71799, the Ninjago City Markets, originally coming out in 2023, June, I believe. This isn't my favourite of the larger, more adult-focused, not an actual A full set, it's 14 plus, but definitely more on an adult-focused set. It's not my favourite of the ones that Ninjago have done. That still probably belongs to the City Gardens, but especially if you've already collected those and you're wanting to really build out your display, well, in that case, it really can't be missed. Alternatively, if you've not had any of those before and you're just coming into it now, it's a pretty cool one to begin with. And these Ninjago sets just simply jam-pack themselves full of so much. I mean, not just the minifigures, of which there are a huge number, but just so many different things that can be done. It's always a little bit of a flex from LEGO when it comes to these sets. And because of that, I find the whole building experience of these really fulfilling. There's actually few other themes that LEGO do that come close to this just sheer level of detailing when we're talking about sets of this size. And there really is a huge amount of enjoyment to be got from the actual putting it together. Not all sets manage that. Some of them just look good when you're finished, but are a bit laborious to actually construct. I didn't find that the case here at all. Every single part of it is intriguing. So big thumbs up from me on this one. I feel it does offer great enjoyment, even if the price is sadly high. That brings me on to Star Wars, and as a big Mandalorian fan, the Razor Crest, the Ultimate Collector's Series version of the Razor Crest, has to be on this list. 75331. It has been out a while. Originally released in October of 2022. It was down for a while as going to be retired last year, and then they shifted it back. Now, that is always something that can happen with sets, but very unlikely to happen again, so I am expecting this to disappear by the end of the year. Now, there is the upcoming film of The Mandalorian and Grogu. That could always mean another iteration, or else a new craft completely that LEGO could do, which would get us all wanting to buy. But equally, I think a lot of people will keep coming back to this. In all fairness, the smaller version they did of it is certainly not bad, but look, if you are a collector of the UCS sets, I really feel that this is one of the standout builds. It's just such a monumental thing to look at, really satisfying. So once again, get saving on those galactic credits, because it don't come cheap. Now, also for Star Wars fans, the UCS X-Wing is going to be on the way out, 75355. And no doubt there'll be plenty who actually prefer this to the Razor Crest. For me, it is the other one that I wanted to include in the video. I just personally prefer it. However, there are plenty of others, including sets that are much more recent in when they've been released, such as the Droideka, that are also retiring. And that doesn't just go for the themes that I've covered. There's so many sets, both huge ones and small, pretty new and old, that are down for retirement this year. So those are my top 10, 11, 12 favourites that I've shared with you. But if you want to see all of the sets that are going this year across all of the various themes, then I've covered those in other videos and I'll link to them in the description below. I'll also put in affiliate links for Amazon and LEGO. So if you do want to buy anything, if you can use those, that'd be great. For now, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you next time round.